Name of Jesus, you are welcome. You are welcome. This is a webinar organized by SeminarThis Academy. Okay, a webinar organized by SeminarThis Academy on instructional leadership. So once again, I want to welcome all of you for coming and for participating in this leadership workshop. My name is Isaac Adekunle Oluwayemi. As you all know, I have almost 30 years experience in teaching and at least almost a decade as a tech expert. So I consult for schools, especially in the area of EdTech. So my passion is in how to integrate technology to schools to facilitate learning and to make learning available anytime, anywhere in the world. That has been my passion. But however, I've participated in leadership in many organizations, including schools. And I with others so that we can grow together. That's the reason why we organize this seminar. And I know that it will be beneficial to many of you. All right. So last week we discussed about visionary leadership. But our focus today is on instructional leadership. Instructional leadership. What do we want to achieve today? By the end of today's session, number one, you will understand what instructional leadership is all about. You will gain the framework, the blueprints to observe. You also learn how to mentor teachers and give high impact feedback. You also learn how to discover how to implement with precision. And I can assure you, you will also live with actionable strategies that you can begin using immediately, especially in your schools. So this I actually want most of us who are in the position of leadership in our schools to make use of them. So let's start now. What is instructional leadership? It's not about being the best head teacher in the building. No, that's make every teacher more effective. It's about influencing teachers to perform better at their peak. Okay? So instructional leadership is this deliberate and strategic action taken by school, especially by school leaders, to improve teachings and learning across the entire school. So those decisions that you take strategically is a way of helping teachers to improve and also helping learning to improve in your school if you make it very strategic. So it sits right at the heart of visionary school leadership. That is, bridging the gap between big dreams and daily classroom reality. You see, most leaders have problem with monitoring the activities in school. Most head of departments fail to monitor teachers under them closely to really influence them, mentor them, coach them to really know what they are doing. Okay? So, in this seminar, we'll give you several strategies that you can use that will help you out. All right, let's discuss about 5 pillars of instructional leadership. 5 pillars. Okay, the first one is high quality classroom observation. That's the first one. Then the second one is effective feedback and coaching. While the third one is curriculum implementation and alignment. The fourth one is data-driven instruction. And the last one is teacher mentoring and capacity building. I'll be explaining the concepts one after the other, but these are the framework of this webinar is the pillar of this webinar. So please just pay attention as you learn. Now, pillar one, which is classroom observation. I want you to know that great leaders, they move beyond casual walkthrough. They conduct what I call purposeful structured observation, especially the one that focuses. If you are going to be an instructional leader, then the first thing that you have to do is to learn how to conduct classroom observation. So you have to look for evidence of engagement, the rigor, and differentiation. Okay? You have to use simple but consistent observation tools. So when you are going to the class to inspect what is going on in the class, don't wear a critical look, but have an open mind to observe and to see how you can lagging behind. So the goal is not to catch teachers. Understand the quality of instruction that happen in each of the for student engagement, look for academic rigor, look for differentiation and inclusion, because people don't learn the same way. Look for the way the teacher questions and the way students also question the teachers. Look for discussion segment of the classroom learning. Look at how engaged the students are in terms of their discussion. Then you look at how the teacher uses instructional strategy, okay, in his own classroom. These are the things you should look for. You can create a kind of instrument, okay, that will help you to prioritize all these parameters and to grade the class based on the parameter I've mentioned. All right. So when you observe classrooms in your school with purpose and intention to see that students engage, to see that academic rigor take place, and to see where utilized, then you have started using what we call instructional leadership. Okay, let's move to the next one. Pillar 2 is about feedback and coaching. So if you observe without a feedback, the observation will be a wasted effort. So strong instructional leader give feedback that is very specific, timely, and actionable. You don't make a vague, maybe statements when you are trying to give feedback. You need to be specific. For example, you can just say, I noticed 70% of students were actively writing. How can we raise that to 90% next week? That is how to give accurate feedback to the teachers. Don't just say your lesson is interesting. Oh, your lesson is good. That is not acceptable professionally as an instructional leader. So you have to specify, you have to work with time, then you have to give recommendation on actionable points. Okay, so improvement and improve the student's outcome. Let's move on to pillar 3, In Pillar 3, we discuss about curriculum implementation and alignment. So having a good curriculum is not enough. It must be implemented with fidelity. So an instructional leader will ensure the taught curriculum align with the intended curriculum. Okay, there should be alignments between the intended curriculum and the taught curriculum. So when you are observing your teachers or supervising your teachers in the classroom, make sure that the teacher do not deviate from the intended curriculum. So the learning curriculum also should also be in alignment. So all these things are very important. So we support teachers in adapting evidence-based materials and monitor scope, sequence, and depth across all classes. That is what you should do as an instructional leader. Make sure that the teachers do not deviate from the curriculum. Everything must be in alignment. The classwork, the assignments, and even the questions generated by the teachers must be in alignment, must be in consonance with the intended curriculum that the school has provided. All right. So we move on to Pillar 4. In Pillar 4, we have what we call data-driven instruction. Data-driven instruction. All right. So we cannot improve what we do not measure. So you must learn how to generate data. Use both formative and summative assessment data to identify learning gaps and strengths. So anytime you go for observation, always capture data. All right. Then as teachers, you should also work with data. So because this will outcome. That is the reason why you have to work with data. I want you to know that data can turn your school 360 degrees towards improvements and big success. Capture data on attendance, capture data on terminal examination results through the broadsheet. Then at the end of the day, you make sure that you evaluate those data that you have captured. Even in external examination, like National Common Entrance, like WAEC, like NECO, so the result of the student must be captured. Then study them very well, know your weakness, know your strength, and work on them. This is how to conduct instructional leadership in your school. Then again, Pillar 5. Pillar 5 has to do with teacher mentoring and capacity building. The best leader grow other leaders. That is the way it should be. If you know that you are a leader, then you have to do what you can to grow others. You have to identify strong teachers among your staff, then develop them. Create system for peer observation, lesson study, and collaborative planning. You can choose a particular day in a week for workshop. Let one of your good teachers teach another teacher, another set of staff, especially on collaborative planning. You can engage in some academic exercise. You can even ask them to present lesson for their colleagues in your workshop. This will definitely help them to perform well. And I want you to also publicly celebrate instructional excellence to build a culture of continuous growth. So whenever you see that your school has improved, celebrate it among your staff and let them know that you really appreciate their effort. All right. So real life success story. I want to close with this real life success story. So let me talk about a real life success story here. I actually implement instructional leadership in one of the schools that I led sometimes ago in Lagos and Ibadan. Okay. And I noticed that when I implemented instructional leadership, we were able to improve the students' mathematics at least 24% in one academic year. And what we did then was that we try as much as possible to monitor the teachers, then organize workshop for them every week. Then we ask some teachers to also give what I call the workshop tutorial for other colleagues, and they did it perfectly. It was like a staff development program. So, and I can assure you that at the end of the day, this definitely gives greater improvements in the students' learning outcome. And that's the reason why I always recommend it for people, that your teachers, especially in the classroom, and suggest to them, give them support on what to do. All right. So common challenges and solution. One of the common challenges is that teachers feel micromanaged whenever you are maybe observing them or supervising them. So instead of trying to behave like a supervisor or an inspector, I would rather advise you behave like a coach. So use a coaching approach to co-create observation goals with them. Okay, so you have to approach them with an open mind and let them know that you are not there to condemn them, but you are there to see how they can improve. Then another thing is that, school is always timetable. Lessons are timetabled. So there's always lack of time. So I would rather suggest that you start with 3 focus observations per week. Okay. So if it is 3 observations you want to perform, do it. Then another challenge is that some staff have what we call resistance to feedback. So you need to make sure that they earn your trust, and they also trust you. So you build trust through celebration of their strength first before you make your observation known. Data. So some teachers, they have what we call overwhelming data. They capture a lot of tests without processing it. So you have to focus on one key data policy, maybe per time. This will definitely help you. So those are the challenges I observe in instructional leadership. Now, let me recommend this one lastly for your immediate action strategies. Number 1, 3 observation cycle per week. Then weekly instructional focus. Always pick one strategy per week. Then student work protocol. So you have to meet with your staff weekly to analyze read-student work together. Let them have what I call professional student work protocol. You must have it in your school. Then you have what we call instructional leadership journal. Record every observation, every feedback given, and expected outcome. So you work on it, because every time is a project that must be achieved. So you cannot achieve that project without planning, without executing, and without strategies. It will be very difficult. So, and that's the reason why I recommend those 4 actionable strategies. So with this, I want you to engage in 30-day implementation roadmap when the school resumes. Week 1, conduct baseline observation and choose your focus area. Week 2, deliver feedback and introduce one new practice. Okay? By week 3, you should be able to facilitate your first data, conversation, and peer observation. Then in week 4, you review progress and celebrate yearly wins. So this is what you recycle, because the action is cyclic. You recycle it until you achieve your aim within a 10. So for those of you who actually want to discuss with me, you can chat me up on my WhatsApp line 08033337619. So you must also learn how to reflect and engage promptly. So let's pause for reflection now. You can type in the chat with me, either on my YouTube channel or my WhatsApp. You can chat me up. You tell me your biggest instructional leadership challenge right now, and then which of the pillars will you want to focus on. I would love to hear from you, and I'm also available for your suggestions and for your chats. My name still remains Isaac Adekunle Oluwayemi. I'm a consultant from JZMAC Academy. All right. So I'm also a consultant in EdTech services. So if you need any of my services, you let me know. We have an app that processes results. We have another one, learning management app, that can also help you to teach your children in school. I mean, your pupils and your students in school. And we have another app again called computer-based test, CBT. As you know, that WAEC, NECO, and some other external exams are being conducted through computer nowadays. So we can deploy computer-based tests to your school if you make a request. Always consult us. And if you need staff training, workshop, we are available for you. Thank you for participating, and God bless you. See you next